1. Proposition rejects a world where success is determined by what family you were born into, and supports one where it is determined by your own efforts and merits. The world we support looks like 3 things. Firstly, children get raised by the state in fully funded state facilities and schools. Secondly, these schools are run by specialists in childhood education and planned out to provide for all these children's needs. Thirdly, these schools contain facilities for sports and extracurricular activities for their holistic development. The state has strong incentives to run these facilities well for 2 reasons. Firstly, they want to protect the future generation of leaders and workers for economic growth. And secondly, there will be strict monitoring and transparency measures, ensuring that the wardens of these facilities are held accountable for mismanagement because protecting children is politically popular. My first argument is that state-run facilities give children equal starting points in life. This argument is important because it shows that state-run facilities give people the same opportunities in life, which promotes equity. For instance, the poor kid suffers because they live in a poor area with underfunded schools and overstretched teachers that cannot adequately provide for their needs. Additionally, they often have parents who themselves are poor, bad peers that discourage them from focusing on their future, a lack of time and energy from taking care of siblings, which makes it harder for them to focus in class or get their homework done. They can't afford private tutoring and often do not pursue tertiary education. If they do, they may not get into good universities, and so they graduate with less prestigious degrees, if any, which leads to low-paying jobs in the future and ensures that they remain trapped in the cycle of poverty. On the other hand, a rich kid has a far better life. They can afford private schooling with better teachers and facilities. They can afford private tutoring after classes for subjects they are weak in, and usually don't have to take care of younger siblings or help parents out in their work, which means that they have more energy and time to devote to their academic interests. Their parents usually are more comfortable and have time to provide them with emotional support they need. And when they graduate, can lean on their connections to get prestigious internships, rub shoulders with the elites in society, and eventually find their own place among the socialites of the world. This is deeply unjust, for your success in life is determined not by your own efforts, but by the circumstances you were born into. It is unfair for some children to be condemned to poverty for the rest of their lives, and it is similarly unfair for some children to have a free pass to success. This does not happen in the alternative because state facilities provide equal access to education. Everyone graduates with the same educational qualification, ensuring that success in life is determined by their own efforts, not by circumstances of their birth. This is a world without a cycle of poverty and without entrenched wealth and privilege. How should you weigh this claim? While parents may be able to give children individualized care and attention, it is far more important to give everyone the same starting point and social mobility, because it determines the quality of the rest of their lives. My second argument is why people raised in different cultural backgrounds lead to friction and discrimination in different cultural groups. African Americans statistically are pushed away from jobs they are perfectly qualified for because of ingrained stereotypes of competence and criminality. These ingrained biases are drilled into children from birth by their parents, who often themselves lack interactions with people of different races and tend to prejudge other races by the stereotypes portrayed in the media. People become more prejudicial because they don't interact with other races, living in their own racially segregated echo chambers. This means that when they get into positions of power, they are unlikely to promote minorities, unlikely to prefer them for jobs over other races because of those ingrained biases that were never challenged. This perpetuates the unequal access to resources like healthcare, safe housing, good wages, or steady jobs. Why do things change in the counterfactual? When children from different racial backgrounds all mingle at a young age, they build positive relationships and experiences that do not result in prejudicial stereotypes. This means that when they grow up, they are more likely to be colorblind in hiring, more willing to pay fairer salaries, more willing to vote for a leader of color, and less likely to commit microaggressions against minorities. How should you weigh this? Children steeped in the culture of their parents often inherit the racial prejudices of their parents, so it is far better to avoid it entirely and raise a generation of children free from racial biases. My third argument is that these state-run facilities are more likely to have specialized expertise to raise children with neurodiverse needs. Neurodivergent children are forced to suffer trying to mask and cope with their problems themselves because their parents don't have the capacity to properly help them. It is difficult for children to find support because they need accommodations that many schools are unwilling or unable to do because of a lack of resources and incentives. Parents are often unable to commit the time and energy to give these children what they need. This looks like ADHD kids being expected to sit still for 8 hours of classes, dyslexic kids expected to read small fonts of curvy serifs, and then being criticized for failing. This is harmful because children are not supported properly, because their environments are not equipped to do that for them, and they are forced to get through school with attention issues and overwhelming environments, which means they don't learn properly and can't maximize their potential because their needs are not being met. In our world, state-run facilities are more likely to have child specialists to give children what they need and help them out. This is because these facilities are well funded and can provide the necessary psychological support for neurodivergent children in the form of early diagnosis, medicalization, behavioral therapy, and supporting resources. This enables children with neurodivergence to actualize their potential because they have the support required for them to learn effectively. How should you weigh this? Parents will try their best to help their children, but the state simply has a greater capacity to help and can provide the specialized support required to meet the unique needs of children in our world. Proposition gives children the specialized support they need when young and an equal chance at success in life. Proud to propose.